Hey everyone, welcome back. Today is part 2 of my conversation with Crypto Lulu. We touch on the SEC versus Binance and Coinbase lawsuits, a little bit of Ripple as well, and we also touch on a few other crypto subjects. I hope you find value in this. Please feel free to leave a comment. I promise I will get back to every single comment. If you see someone in the comments telling you to call someone or text someone on a Telegram channel, that's a scam. Stay away, please. I try to delete all of those comments, but they do show up in every one of my videos. So please keep yourself safe. Without further ado, let's start the show. If you find value, please like, subscribe, and share with someone you know. Let's start the show. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy. Question about Coinbase and Binance being sued. You have any feelings about either one of those exchanges, or any thoughts or comments on what you think is going to happen there?
When I heard that when all that news came out, what I felt was I see things in images a lot of the time in my head, and I often have dreams about them that night. But the one piece of imagery that I got was Gary Gensler. It's not a fun image to have in your head, okay? But I saw Gary Gensler like holding on to Ripple.
Yeah.
Right, he's hanging on. He's nothing underneath him, and he's slipping and he's slipping, and he's just fallen off Ripple, and he just tries to grab to bring some other stuff down with him, and it's Binance and Coinbase. And that's the imagery I had in my head. It just felt like a desperate attempt to do what he could to impact the market, or not to impact the market necessarily, but to bring it down with him.
Yeah.
And then it was like the same day or the next day where he said, "We don't need more digital currency. We've got the dollar. We've got the, and it just seemed like a last ditch attempt to bring it down. And what was wonderful about that is that when all of this was happening, the price came back.
Yeah.
And I said this a few times now, maybe not online, but what happened with Binance and Coinbase was a black swan event that we didn't let happen this time.
Wow, well said.
There was buying pressure like nobody's business. That was supposed to be a COVID-like crash, I think, but it just wasn't.
I think people are more intelligent about what they're holding, I think, nowadays. You had when the last bear cycle hit, you had about 70% of the market that left. And now you have, in this bear market, you have about 30 to 35% of people left. So I think people are a lot better educated on what they hold, and they're true believers, right? The people that are part of some of these ecosystems really understand them and how impactful they're going to be on a larger scale. And I think people are just getting smarter. They're participating in more groups like yours and mine. They're watching more content. They're instead of maybe spending 30 minutes watching a sitcom show, they're spending 30 minutes researching, or an hour researching a day, and that's really kind of put them in a better place to understand what they're holding more. And I think people want people are always looking for something to change their lives, right? Like a lottery ticket or something like that. It's much harder to win the lottery than maybe just watching a couple videos and trying to get well educated on something, a digital asset that you hold, and just waiting, right? Because you have a much better shot at that than you do with a lottery ticket, right? At 300 million to 1. I do think Coinbase is going to be an easier lawsuit, just because they worked and worked and worked. I mean, meeting 30 times with the SEC in a year, and you really can't say they weren't trying to do what they were trying to obey the law, or trying to follow the law, or trying to get guidance. Binance, on their hand, they did some commingling of funds back in 2018. They there's some wash trading allegations there too. I don't know how well Binance is going to. I think Binance is going to pay one of the biggest fees you've ever seen just to make this go away, because CZ is not going to want all this dirty laundry out. That's just my personal opinion. MiCA regulation.
I think
here go. I'm sorry.
The way CZ operates, I think, is also a little bit strange. Mm-hmm. There's no real location on anything.
Yeah.
It just seems, out of the two, certainly Binance is on the line there.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, I think big fines are to be paid. I think there's going to be a big fine to be paid by Ripple. Going back to that.
Of course.
It's going to be a big fine paid by Ripple. There's going to be a massive injection of money in fines to the government.
Yep.
And they're going to go, okay, we're ready now. And they'll probably take those fines and just buy XRP with it.
Yeah, you know, it'd be funny if they, I mean, you're absolutely right? I mean, if they, $500 million or maybe even a little bit higher than that, they could buy 1 billion XRP. XRP goes to 20 or 30 grand. You have 20 or 30 trillion dollars. Let's be honest. That's how that math works, right? If you have 1 billion XRP and it goes to 20, 30 grand, that's 20 or 30 trillion. So that's a really good way to get rid of the national debt if you need to do something like that, right? And really kind of switch into a quantum financial system, right? Because, we always hear about something like the Great Reset, right? And you wonder, like, who won't be made whole there, right? So if you're forgiving debt on credit cards, you're forgetting mortgage debts, you're doing all this, the banks are the ones that are not going to be made whole there. So how do you make them whole? So you need to come up with a ton of cash. You can't print new money, right? Because if you print new money, you're going to have higher inflation. So where do you meet in the middle there? Like, where does all of this new value come from to reset the financial system? Or do you just destroy all banks in existence, right? Because that's what that would do, right? By forgiving everybody's debt and moving to a new system. So what would that look like, right? And I try to think of that in my head, and there's really no easy way to do that, right? It's pretty rough.
Well, the problem is, if everyone wins, no one wins.
True.
That's the kind of problem I have with, like, all debts get cleared and it's all great for everyone, because if it's all great for everyone, it's not great for anyone. It's kind of just like the same for everyone.
Yeah.
So this is going to be controversial. I think you need winners and losers to make a market.
Yeah.
Can't have everyone win. Or you can have people win more than others, but then that really is just a win or a lose.
Yeah,
it can be reduced down to a 1 or a 0. I typically would think that the banks and the institutions are going to get the win, and a select group of people, individuals, will also be part of that. But I don't think we should be blind to the fact that the majority of people lose. So the majority of the people in this new system should lose, right? Not that you want them to, but just by the forces of the market.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be a winner and a loser. We know who the winners are. So you can either be the majority of the people and I'm not going to call people losers, but on the losing side, on the oblivious side to what's happening. And then there's the people, like in our communities and in the right digital assets, who are going to be part of that winning group, but not necessarily the ones who made it win. We're just kind of part of the journey. But we were more knowledgeable in that process and woke up to what the news was saying, and all these things. Like, it really does play a role. I think the majority of the people who won't win in this transition will be the sheeple, people who just follow what's told to them and believe what's told to them and call people what people tell them to call them. It's a wild world out there.
Yeah, I see a lot of people just following tweets and things like that, buying into things that they have no idea what the hell they are just because someone's telling them to buy something. I mean, I don't want to bring this guy up, but, BitBoy is a good example of that, right? He puts out something, people buy into it, and then they get wrecked. And then he's like, oh, well, I forgot to tell you I took money from this company to promote it. But anyways, MiCA regulation in Europe, and then UK's working. I just saw something the other day that UK is just right around the corner from crypto regulation or some type of it. What are your thoughts on that?
So the MiCA thing, I think, was interesting somewhat. It's a little bit boring for me. I won't talk about the MiCA one. Okay. I didn't make a video on it, but that was as far as I really wanted to go with it. Okay. The other one is exciting.
Okay.
The crypto bill, financial stability in markets, or something like that. Yep. I've already made the video on that. It's just not out.
Okay.
This is really important because they're changing from the old bill, which was formed in year 2000, to this new bill, to update that bill. So it's a 2023 bill, but now it includes information that wasn't in the last one, obviously, because times have changed. One of those things that it includes is regulations surrounding settlement assets, digital settlement assets. And what's wonderful about that is that we already, that triggers the lights in our mind. We're like, yes, we know what that is.
The settlement part.
We know the actual technology
Yeah.
that is the settlement element of it.
Yeah.
And so, when you look further into things, you try to find actually how do the government define settlement? Like, what is a settlement asset? They don't have a clear definition, but they do have like guidelines. And so when you marry up the likes of Bitcoin against this guideline, you find that Bitcoin doesn't meet the criteria. No, so I mean, it's a no-brainer to us, but Bitcoin doesn't meet the criteria because it is volatile at present, which is fine. But it also doesn't meet their net zero qualifications.
True.
And net zero is another factor that wasn't in the 2000 bill that is in the 2023 bill. So it also is too expensive to send. We know this, but that's also kind of highlighted in their guidelines. So then you think, okay, what else could it be? Well, we know our settlement assets. We've got XRP and XLM. We know XRP and XLM, or Ripple and Stellar, are working on the Digital Pound Foundation.
Yep.
You've also got Quant that's doing the same thing. Okay, so we know the digital assets that are involved, but also this thing applies to CBDCs.
Yep.
And I think my gut feeling is that they actually made this digital settlement assets thing with CBDCs as the primary thought.
Yep. Not
specific technologies. And the reason why that's good for us still is because these CBDCs are going to facilitate transfer of value on blockchains. Which blockchains? Settlement asset blockchains. Yep. Which just all of the points come back into the XRPL basically. Yep. And the other ISO assets there in different capacities. But that's really exciting because it's on the last phase before it goes to the king. When the king gets it on his table, it's basically a foregone conclusion that he signs off. And so it was yesterday when they met to discuss the final reading, the third reading. And so I haven't checked it today to see what it was because I recorded this thing before that news came out. Mm-hmm. So when that goes through, it basically will go through what's called royal assent, which means it goes up to the king and he signs it off. He will always sign it off because he has entrusted the government to do governmental things. And so when it comes to his table, he signs it automatically. He does ultimately have the say, like the Queen always had the say. You have the last word on anything, but they always agree with the government. So it's exciting because it's right here. And, when you look at timelines for CBDCs, wholesale CBDCs, then retail CBDCs, and then the court case coming to an end, and then these bills going through, it's like it's all coming, and the charts are all leading up to like this one moment.
It's compounding.
I don't think it's coincidence that it's all happening now.
So, quick question about the king stuff. So, because in America, it goes through, a bill has to go through the House 60%, goes to the Senate 60%, then it goes to the president can veto it. So, I didn't know the king actually signs bills. Is that how that works in your country? That's really cool, actually.
Yep. At least with my understanding, that's what happens. That's cool, and it's everything that goes through or gets passed has to go through royal assent. The only thing is, it's kind of like a traditional historic.
I would think so, yeah.
Rather than one that can actually make an impact. Although, with like the royal law, he could do a veto type situation. Yeah. He could, but they don't. Like, they don't at that stage. It's kind of like a formality.
He's just there to, come on, bring in the stuff. I'll sign it. Let's just get it done.
Yeah.
Let's just get it done. Thanks so much for watching this content, guys. If you want to see Crypto Lulu and I's conversation about different things in the crypto space, we tackle the Coinbase and the SEC. We tackle Binance. We tackle regulation. We tackle CBDCs. There's so many different things that we talk about in this series of videos. I hope you're going to find value out of it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Robert Doyle, and this has been very fun content to put together for you guys. Thank you so much.